Now see each and every package, classes and interfaces. Here I am not going to explain each and every class and interfaces. I'll just show you the list of packages and classes available, and I'll explain whatever classes and interfaces that are useful for implementing servlet technology. Only those things I'll show you. Okay, I'll explain you. See, these are the 14 classes available in servlet package, like servlet interface, servlet request, servlet response, request dispatcher, servlet config, servlet context, single thread model, filter, filter config, filter chain, servlet request listener, servlet request attribute listener, context listener, context attribute listener. All these are the interfaces available in the servlet package. Let us see the classes available in this servlet package. 11 classes. Out of 11, 9 classes related to the servlet and 2 are the exception classes. Okay, so let us see the interfaces and package classes available in HTTP package. Here we have 8 interfaces and 7 classes. So 7th one, HTTP util, was recently added to this package. So out of all those interfaces and classes, if you want to write any program, servlet program, or if you want to write any Java program, if you want to make the Java program as a servlet program, we need to implement this servlet interface. Until unless you implement your Java class from this servlet interface, your class will not get the nature of servlet. If you are not implementing servlet interface, your class will be considered it as normal Java class only. Okay, let us see the methods available in this servlet interface. This servlet interface needs to be implemented for creating any servlet either directly or indirectly. So why I have written either directly or indirectly is, you can directly implement the servlet interface, or you can implement, or you can extend your servlet class from any other class that implements servlet interface. Okay, I'll show you the example in the next slide. See, this servlet interface contains 5 important methods. Out of 5 methods, first 3 are the life cycle methods of a servlet. Okay, remaining 2 methods are helpful for creating objects for these 3 methods. Okay, now see the methods available in servlet interface. First one is init method. So public void init. So why I am writing this method as public method? Why all the methods available in this servlet interface are public methods is, servlet interface contains only abstract methods. It doesn't have any implementation for these abstract methods. So if you want to write the implementation for these methods, you have to extend your class. You have to implement this interface. So whatever class you are, in which class you are implementing this interface, in that class you have to write the implementations for all these methods. Now see this init method. This init method is used for initializing your servlet. So before processing your request, first of all, you have to initialize, you have to make your servlet ready for processing the request. So for doing that task, we need to initialize the servlet. So for initializing the servlet, the container invokes the init method. Now see the service method. This service method takes 2 parameters, request object and response objects, right? So the main job of this service method is for processing the request. So this service method will process the request. So how it will process your request is, whatever request that is coming from the client, that request information will be placed in this request object, and it will create one object called as response object. This will be useful for sending response back to the client. Once it is processed, we need to send response back to the client. So that is the reason why it will, before calling service method itself, your container will create one request object and response object. In that request object, it will insert the request that is coming from the client, then that will be sent to the service method. And your service method will take the information from this request object, then it will be processed. Finally, it will generate the response. That generated response will be placed in the response object and then sent to the server. Okay, server ultimately that response will be sent to the client. So this is the job of the service method. Now next method is destroy method. So this destroy method is used for deleting all the objects that are related to your web application once the web application execution is over. So just for releasing the memory for future purpose, once your application execution is over, it will delete all the objects that are previously created for handling the request. All those things will be garbage collected by calling destroy method. Right? Now next one is servlet get servlet config method. So this get servlet config method is used for obtaining the config object. Why we need to obtain config object is, if you want to initialize the servlet, we need to send the servlet in configuration settings to the container. Okay, so all that configuration settings of your servlet will be placed in servlet config object, and that will be sent to the init method. Your init method will take the information from this config object, and then it will be that servlet object will be initialized, and it will make the servlet object ready to process the request. Okay, so for obtaining this config object, container calls get servlet config method. Now next method is get servlet info method. This get servlet info method is used for retrieving the information about your servlet. When it was created, who is the author of your servlet? Okay, on which, what kind of requests your servlet is handling. Okay, all this information we can get it by using this get servlet info method. So these are the 5 methods available in the servlet interface. Now see the generic servlet class. So this generic servlet class is also available in javax.servlet package. So the main intention of this generic servlet class is also to if you are creating any servlet program, we can extend our class from this generic servlet class. So this generic servlet class provides the implementation of all the methods available in the servlet interface. Okay, see here, your generic servlet class is implementing the servlet interface, and it will implement servlet config interface, and it is implementing serializable interface also. That means all the methods available in these 3 interfaces, definitions or implementations will be available in this generic servlet class. Okay, so here your generic servlet class provides the implementation of all the methods available in these 3 interfaces except the service method. Why? Because the service method mainly used for handling the requests. So whoever is implementing the servlet, they can write their own task for handling the service method. Okay, now see the methods available in the generic servlet class. So init method, service method, destroy method, get servlet config, get servlet info. These 5 methods are inherited from the servlet interface. Get servlet context, get init parameter method, get init parameter names method, get servlet name method. These methods are inherited from servlet config interface. And last one, log method, is implemented from the serializable interface. So while writing the servlet program, if you are extending generic servlet class, no need to write the definitions for all these methods. You can directly write the definition for only service method. Even if you write only service method also, your container will, if you are inheriting from this class, means automatically all these methods definitions will be available to your program. So if you write your own implementation for service method, your service method overrides the definition that is coming from the generic servlet class. Okay, let us see the HTTP servlet class. This is also one of the important class for implementing the for providing implementation for servlet. Okay, so this HTTP servlet class also provides the implementation of servlet interface. This class is available in javax.servlet.http package. So this class can handle only HTTP related requests, and this class provides some methods like do get, do post, do head, do trace, and do options, etc. Okay, so whenever the user will initiate the execution of the service method, that service method initiates the execution of do get method or do post, do head, do trace, depending upon the request method. Suppose if the user requests for the resource by using get method, then your do get method will get executed. Suppose if the user is sending request using post method, your do post method will get executed. Okay, let us see the methods available in HTTP servlet class. Okay, as usual, your HTTP servlet class also implements servlet interface and serializable interface, right? So all these methods are related to the HTTP HTTP servlet class. So service method, here we have two versions of service method, right? So this first version, public void service, this version of service method is inherited from the generic servlet class, and remaining all the methods are inherited. All the methods are its own class methods. Okay, if you write your own method, your own service method in your servlet program, your servlet service method initiates the execution of any one of these methods. Okay, so do get method is used for handling get kind of requests. Do post method is for handling the request that is coming from the client which uses method as a post. Okay, so all these are the methods available in HTTP servlet class. So these are all the these three two classes and one interface. These three are enough for writing the servlet programs. So now see, once the servlet program is ready, or once you create the servlet by implementing servlet interface or by extending the generic servlet class as well as HTTP servlet class, then to run your servlet, we need to place our servlet in the web server. Okay, so how to place your servlet program in the web server is, the process of placing your application in the web server is called as deploying a servlet. Deploying a servlet means placing your application in the web server's memory space. Okay, so how to deploy our application in the server is, here if you are doing this process manually, then these are the steps. Whatever steps I am showing, these steps we need to follow. Suppose if you are using any IDEs like Eclipse IDE, NetBeans IDE, then no need to follow all these steps. Automatically all these steps will be done by the IDE itself for us. Okay, if you are following or if you are not using any IDEs, if you want to deploy your application in the server, then these are the steps we need to follow, right? So first step is just to create one root folder, root directory with your own name or with the name that is related to your application. So creating the directory structure means just to create one folder on any place on the desktop itself, right? So in that root directory, we need to place some of the components, right? So in that, suppose here in my example, I am creating one folder. This folder I am calling it as my root directory. I am naming that root directory as web app. That means just web application. So inside this root directory, we need to create one more folder with the name webinf. This webinf indicates that web information. So compulsory this name should be in capital letters. So here the root folder name is any name, but whatever structure you are creating from now onwards, it uses same names. Okay, we need to follow the same structure. Now inside this webinf folder, create one more folder with the name classes. Okay, and in the webinf itself, create one more folder and name it as lib. So why we need to use these two folders is, whenever you create a servlet program means it is a simple Java program. So we need to compile the Java program before execution, right? Once you compile the Java program, we will get the .class file. So that .class file we need to copy under the classes folder. So no need to give any direct resource files to the web server. So executable files are enough for the web server. That is the reason why instead of giving your servlet directly, what we are doing is we are compiling the servlet program. After compilation, we will get .class file. That .class file we are copying in the classes folder. Then we will give this entire directory structure to the server. So from the .class file, it will extract the data and it will process the data. Okay. And now next folder is about library folder. So this lib folder is for holding or for placing jar files. Suppose if your application is using any kind of jar files, those jar files we need to copy under lib folder. Like for running any servlet program, first of all, we need to set the class path for servlet API.jar file. Okay, so that servlet API.jar file we need to copy under lib folder. Okay, even if you ignore also there is no problem, because whatever servers we are using nowadays, those servers are internally is having servlet API. So no need to bother about that. Or separately, if your application requires any kind of AND tools, if your application is using AND tools or filter kind of tools, then those particular .jar files we need to copy under lib folder. Okay, if it is a simple application, no need to copy any jar files under lib folder, right? And one more important point is, suppose for creating your web application, you need to write 100 web pages. Okay, and 1,000 images I want to have for web page, web application. And there is a need of 10 servlet programs. So in that case, way to save all these resource files is you just directly copy all those resources under root directory itself. Don't place any resource files under webinf, because this root directory is for the user applications and this webinf structure is for server sake. Okay, whatever information you are storing inside the webinf folder, that will be taken by the server. So your server will not touch the folders under root directory. Okay, that is not required. Now, once this root directory structure is over, then whatever programs you have written, you just copy all those programs under root directory. It is the second step. Third step is, for every servlet, we need to create one web.xml file. Okay, for every servlet, we need to create one web.xml file. In next slide, I'll show you the structure of the web.xml file. So that web.xml file, we are calling it as a deployment descriptor. So why it is called it as deployment descriptor is, in this web.xml file, we will store the information about all our servlets and we'll store the information about our entire web application. Okay, that web.xml file will copy under webinf folder and that will be given to the server. So your server will take the information about your application by reading this web.xml file only. Okay, that is the reason why this web.xml file is called as deployment descriptor. So this file is used for deployment process inside the server. Now, once the web.xml file creation is over, now compile your servlet programs. We'll get the .class files. Copy this .class files under classes folder. And if there is any .jar files required for your application, copy all those jar files under lib folder. This is the next step we need to do. Now see the structure of the web.xml file. So any web.xml file, whatever web application it is, the web.xml file structure will be like this. Here I am showing only few tags, the basic important tags that are used for deploying your application in the server. So here in this web.xml file, all the tags are predefined tags only. So here there is no user defined. We should not use any of our own tags. All the tags are predefined tags. So here we have one root element. So this root element name is web app. This indicates that web application. Suppose if your web application contains 10 servlets. So 10 servlets information we need to store in this web.xml file. So how to store the 10 servlets information? So each and every servlet information we will store in the form of one servlet tag. Suppose if your application is having 10 servlets, 10 servlet tags we need to write. And for each and every servlet, we need to write one servlet mapping tag. So what is the use of this servlet mapping tag is just for registering your servlet with the server, we'll use the servlet mapping tag. Okay. So your servlet mapping tags, I mean whatever contents that are there with the servlet mapping tags, those are used for understanding or identifying your servlet in the web server's memory space. Okay. Suppose if your servlet is having, your application is having 100 servlets, each and every servlet should be recognized by using some address, right? So that information we will supply through servlet mapping tag. Okay. Now see, this is the structure of the web application, web.xml file. For any servlet program, you have to create one web.xml. Sorry, for any web application, we need to create one web.xml file. In that, you can store all your servlets information. Okay. Once all the creation is over and compilation of servlet programs are over and copying of class files under class folders are over, the next step is we need to deploy our application on the Tomcat server's memory space. Okay, we need to deploy our application in the web server. Here I am using Tomcat server. So we need to deploy our application in the Tomcat server. So how to deploy? You just simply copy whatever directory structure we have created in the previous step. You just copy this directory structure and paste it under this folder. Okay, whenever you install Tomcat server, automatically that will be installed under C drive program files. In that program files, it will create one folder with the name Apache Software Foundation. In that, it will create one more folder with the name Tomcat 6.0. Under this folder, it will place all of its tools, right? So under this folder, we can see a lot of folders. But in that, we can see one folder with the name web app. So this web app folder is for placing user applications, user web applications. So other than this web app, we cannot touch any other files. Okay. So whatever directory structure you have created in the previous step, just copy that structure under this folder. Okay. So with this step, the deployment process is over. Now next step is executing your application. So how to execute your application? You just, for executing your application, you have to send a request from the client. So for sending that request, we need to open the browser. Then from the browser, we need to send the URL to the server about our web application, right? So what is the URL here is, the URL will be like this, HTTP. This HTTP indicates that here I am using HTTP protocol for sending my request to the server. Then localhost. This localhost indicates the, so here after 2 forward slashes, here we need to write the IP address of the server. Okay. Suppose if your server and browser are in the same machine, then we need to write it as localhost. Suppose if your server is in a different machine, here we need to write the IP address or some host name. Okay. A colon port number. Port number indicates the where your server is, in which port number your server is running. So this is the port number of Tomcat server. Okay, at the time of installing Tomcat server, we can see the port number. So that port number we need to type it here, / your root directory name, whatever root directory we have created in the step 1, that root directory name, and the URL pattern of your servlet. Okay, so where we will get this URL pattern? This URL pattern will be available in the web.xml file. So whatever name you have given here as a under URL pattern tag, that name we need to write it here. Okay, so in this example, http://localhost:8080 my app /hello. Hello is my URL pattern of my servlet. So you just click on the enter button. Automatically request goes to the server. Your server will receive that request, and that request will be handed over to your respective servlet. Your servlet will process your request. Then it will generate the response. That generated response will be sent to the server. Server will send that response back to the client. This is the process. Okay. So in next slide, in next session, I'll explain all this process with some example programs. Okay. And in next session, I'll show you an example program, how to send the request and how to capture the request from the browser. So with examples, I'll show it in the next session. So in this session, we have discussed about what is a servlet. First of all, we have discussed about what is a web application, then what is a servlet, what are the differences between CGI and servlet, and servlet API, and methods of servlet interface, generic servlet class, and HTTP servlet class. Finally, we have seen the deployment process of the servlet, right? So hope you people understood. So thank you. Thank you, Ananda.